Good morning, book explorers. Jill here with another episode of Map Monday. Today I'm talking about the map that's in King's War, which is the third book in my Kinsman Chronicles. The Kinsman Chronicles, you can see right here, each of the three books has a different map in the front. And so in book 3, our characters arrive in a new land and they name that land Aretz, despite the fact that people were already living there. Basically, to them, Aretz meant land, and so they just started calling it that. Aretz is the Hebrew word for land, and in this series and the prequel trilogy, the Blood of Kings trilogy, I used Hebrew as my fantasy language. It seemed a good idea at the time. I solemnly swore I was up to no good when I copied J.K. Rowling, who used Latin for all of her spells. So, I thought, wow, I could use a foreign language. What do I have? And I had a Hebrew-Greek concordance on my shelf and a French dictionary, and I thought Hebrew sounded much more like a fantasy language than French, and so I went with it. And so that's why I did that. Way back when, 10, 13, 14 years ago, when I first started writing my very first fantasy novel, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I completely appropriated the Hebrew language for my fantasy novel and called my land Aretz. Okay, my neighbors were getting a little crazy over there playing soccer. So, on to the map. In this map, we arrive in the land called Aretz. And so this is actually the map from my map board, minus all of the water. But I even have the Aretz logo. See it over there? Right here. It's the same one. So this is the same map that I drew on this. This is a pallet that I filled in extra wood in between. I actually moved all the boards on the pallet and then drew with a Sharpie on top of it so that I would have this map board that matched the map from this book, but the southern part of Aretz. I tried on purpose to draw this map a little differently. Oh, here, let me use this one. So even though, if you can see, the southern part of this and the southern part of this are basically the same, the map on the... I need like 4 hands. The map on the top is skinnier. Or it's shaped a little differently. And the reason I did that was because this story takes place 500 years before this story, and I wanted that to show in my cartography of the times. So, because when I studied maps of the world from different locations, they were all... They're shaped very differently depending on the era in which they were drawn. And so when I drew this map, the map from this book, I wanted it to be shaped a little differently. I wanted it to be kind of squished in parts and shaped a little wider than it should be. And this map is supposedly has been drawn by Trevin, my character Trevin, even though it was really drawn by me. I love drawing maps. I will always draw maps. I made different mountains and different trees for this one than I used in this one. And that was another way that made it look different. I also used a key in this one, and I did not use a key in this one. It was just, there was a lot of things I wanted to label, and it was too busy to try to put words on there too. And so this was a way that I could do it simply and have it look nice. And so that is the map from King's War. Some interesting locations. Let's take a look and see what we see. Number 1, Aretz Point. This is where my kings first land when they come to this new area. Up the coast here, number 2 is the port of Armenia. They basically move in and they decide to build a castle here at number 3. And that is the same castle that still exists in this map 500 years later. The castle is still there, built on an island out in the middle of this lake. And so their port access is either to come around on this road or to go straight across in boats and then load up. And then they can take ships up and down or around. So that's number 2. 3 is the castle Armengard, the city Armengard. 4 is the border houses. So in this story, they're fighting with some people over here in 7, New Rurikau, and in 6, Magosia. They're fighting with these people. They're all kind of fighting. And so my Armengardians, my Armenians, build these some border forts. They're trying to make a blockade. And if you look at this map, you can see there's actually eventually going to be a wall put in there because it turns out these people groups cannot live at peace with each other. Over the years, they grow more and more divided to the point where they put a wall up because there's just too much violence and they want to protect their people from these other ones, and it's a mess. And so that's where the wall comes in. And so the wall starts in King's War when they put these border forts up, border houses, excuse me, in the number 4 locations. And then the wall will eventually stretch from 1 all the way up to 5. 5 is New Sarikar. Now, I don't know if you remember from a couple weeks ago when I talked about the map from King's Folly, but King's Folly's map was a map of the 5 realms. This land, some bad things happened. Without spoiling things, bad things happened. People got in some boats. They ended up here. Okay, not everybody ended up here, but if you look, some of the same countries are here. So we have Armenia and their port of Armenia. And they started Armengard. So the Armenians are here. Sarikar, there's New Sarikar at number 5. So that's the Sarikarians. Number 7, New Rurikau. So the Rurikauians, I'm not trying to say them, the Rurikites maybe, settled in this area in number 7. Magosia is a little bit of a different word from Magonia, and so that's different. And then Tenma, we don't see on the map. And so I don't want to give you spoilers, but there's a reason why we don't see Tenma on the map. And so you have to read the story to find out why. But basically, these numbers coincide with the people groups from book 1. And so that's where they come from. So let's see here. Number 8, Isla, is the name of this location. Number 9, Zuzan, is this location here. As I mentioned briefly, all these people showed up and decided to settle in this land, but guess what? People were already living there. Not only were there people living there, there were giants living there as well. So there are several people groups that already lived in this land before my kings showed up and moved in. And Zuzan is one of the locations where giants lived. 10, Peru Plains, the Peru people. It's another people group. They're nomadic, and so they come and travel around during the different seasons. And so they're up in the plains once these invader people come, and they're like, we're gonna hide from those guys, and they kind of stick around up top, which is a shame. They're very nice people, and they do start to work their way back down once they start to be able to speak the same languages, but for a while they couldn't understand each other. 11, the Jiryeki Temple. Over here there's Pyramid, and this is another group of giants, but they're different giants than the ones that live in Zuzan. And then we have 12, the Unknown Plains. And so in this series, Trevin really just wants to explore. He's always wanted to explore. He always wanted to leave the land in this book and see what was out there, and he got his chance. And now that he's here, he wants to sail all the way and see where he'll end up. But he just doesn't get the chance to because of the circumstances in the story. And so he only was able to draw this much of what eventually is shown to be this map. Because of the course of the story, he has to come back. So up here in number 12, he has the Unknown Plains. He doesn't know what's up there, but I guarantee you he will figure it out, because as he is referenced in this series, he is Trevin the Explorer, and he will get his chance to explore eventually. So that is the map from King's War, book 3 in the Kinsman Chronicles. This was Map Monday. I look forward to talking to you next week. Any questions? Leave a comment. Until then, see you. Bye.